Hey guys, how you going? My name is Wilson, also known as Zamba Will. In today's video, we're just basically gonna do a breakdown on how I designed the baby Plauto fan art for Lil Uzi Vert and Future's new album, basically. Okay, we're just gonna create a new project here. Beautiful. Just gonna have to import our media. Just go to Finder if you're on Apple, Downloads, grab all your media, drop it in, enter, and that's it basically. I don't know the direction for this artwork that I'm doing basically here. I just know it's like space themed. That's why all my images have astronauts in them. The inspiration I got from that was the actual cover itself. There was a big debate about it on Cover Art Matters Instagram page, and people were talking about like who liked it, who didn't like it. Personally, I thought the cover looked kind of lazy, but I did see it with motion and it did open my eyes a little bit. Like I had to see it with motion to understand the artistry that went behind that cover, and after I saw it with motion, it was pretty dope. So it did convince me after I seen it with motion. I forgot two artists who worked on that, but shout out to them because they're both artists and I both looked at their pages, and yeah, they're pretty cool. I'm just cutting out the images here. This is all sped up because it takes way too long to cut out images, as everyone knows. I use the pen tool, obviously. I'm still using mouse and keyboard rather than the actual tablet that I bought. I'm only using that to like do these selections, these small selections of like coloring stuff out and stuff like that. But yeah, if you got more time, definitely use the brush and the tablet because you get more precise flow. It looks cleaner. It looks more organic rather than the straight cut edges from the pen that we all know we get. That kind of look off sometimes, especially if a subject is well lit and like they have background images. It just looks really cut out. Like for example, this Future face, I cut it out with a pen first just to get the shape. Then I went back in with the brush and the tablet to make sure it looked more natural. And I wanted to get his hair and his details like that, so I used the brush and turned down the hardness completely so you could feather out some of the hair. I didn't want to go in too deep and get all the little individual hair details. I know people who do that and that's absolutely crazy, but attention to detail is key if you want to be professional, I guess. Just resizing it, making sure it fits into this astronaut's face. When I always like when I try to match images of artists to a reference image, I basically use the eyes as my guide. So I put the image on top of the eyes and then try to warp the face to fit the rest of the frame of the face, basically the rest of the shape, and it tends to look okay, but I do tend to hide it using darker colors and shadows to make sure everything blends, because in Photoshop it's photo manipulation, so making stuff blend is the key, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty dope. I feel like the background for this project was the hardest because these two images are completely different colors, and at first I was using hue and saturation to try to match the color of the floor, which is snow white, to the back, which is desert brown or desert yellow, and I was just finding myself in a deep hole. Then I just remembered, you'll see it further on into the video, I kind of remember myself that I can just go in blending options and just change the color completely of the floor. Right now I'm just creating the background. These sand dunes are really hard to like cut out actually. At some point I just gave up on making it look really neat. Obviously when it comes to making actual client work, I am more cautious. I do take my time a little bit more, but when I'm doing fan art, it's for fun. So I'm not taking stuff really seriously when I'm doing fan art, even though some of my dopest art is fan art. Obviously it's all for fun, really. You know, I've always thought if the magic wand worked 10 times better, it would make life so much easier. It's just the AI in Photoshop isn't the best at the moment. Even though it is working a little bit better than previous years, it's still ridiculously trash when it comes to some stuff. Here I'm just adding a background of one of the other images. There we go, just coloring it back in with the negative mask using a black brush. And then you use the white to bring back the actual negative mask, so it's fading out. I just came to a realization that I could use two of the same background to create some sort of new sky. So I just did that. I just duplicated it, lifted it up, and created a negative mask on the first one, and I used a white brush and colored it in. I mean a black brush, sorry about that, and colored it in so it blends. I feel like it's the easiest way to make a new sky. So I'm going a little bit too low there. Got future. You know, I really don't know what I'm gonna do with the colors, honestly. I don't know if I want to make it because I did a Travis Scott fan art of Utopia, and it was more space themed too. And I use color LUTs, actually, the ones that Photoshop give you for free, and I really love them. Like I've recently started using them, and they're pretty dope. And I feel like most artists tend to not use them, but like I don't color grade my stuff in Photoshop, and I rarely use the what's it called, the smart filter, because I don't know, I just don't tend to use it. But I know when people do get into those professional realms, they do tend to use filter gallery more, and all the features Photoshop has to offer, because it makes your compositions look more like a photo rather than a bunch of photos pasted and cut into a project. Basically, in Photoshop, you just basically want your image to look as real as possible, if that's what you're going for, which is what most people do go for. I was planning on adding some sort of texture to the ground, and I was like scrolling through Unsplash, desperately looking for a flat texture that I could add. I just ended up wasting hours on time basically doing that, because I didn't end up using any of the photos that I downloaded, which happens so much that it's ridiculous. Like I will look for photos for 40 minutes and not use a single photo that I looked for. So yeah, I just want to color in the sky. That's not working. I reckon if I use a regular brush and just paint it in, I think that'll look 10 times better. I don't know. Yeah, that's working. I like that. You know, it's trial and error. Beautiful. Add the Earth, because they're basically I wanted to make them look like they're on a different planet and Earth is behind them. The title is called Baby Pluto, and I just want to emulate that. They're not on Earth, so the Earth is behind them. Just convert that into a small object, put it all the way behind. There you go. You can see the Earth like in the horizon or something, which is super unrealistic, but it looks 10 times cooler than making it like a dot in the sky, like a sun of some sort. And that's the thing with creating cover art and fan art, is creativity is key. I've seen some dope artists make some dope art. Like sometimes I'll go through my feed, I'm like, this is really dope. Yeah. It just looked plain at the moment. I don't know if I want to add an actual ship into this, or like some sort of element, but I'm just looking for some sort of element. It's a spaceship. You know, I did end up cutting out the whole spaceship, and then I realized it doesn't fit at all with the theme, which I was so bummed out about. because I really wanted it to work. And I think I could have made it work if I gave it more love and affection, you know? But sometimes you just gotta, less is more. Less is more. That's what I'm trying to say. Less is more. But yeah, I just wanted to leave this in here because I want to show you guys completely what I go through when I'm making cover art. Like, before I even send a draft, I've already done 30 drafts in my head and actually physically completed like 3 drafts on Photoshop and deleted all those elements and started again. And I feel like a lot of people do that, and it sucks. It sucks, honestly. But I guess you have to have a passion for it, and it is kind of time consuming. That's why I love when clients come with me with an idea, because I feel like it's really easy for me to visualize somebody's idea, somebody's concept. And when it comes to doing art direction, you're very biased to your own opinion, your own opinions and your own designs. That's why doing art direction, in my opinion, is harder than a client coming to you with a brief already. And yeah. Yeah. Because this ship, I feel like if I would have made the ship smaller and placed it on the ground somewhere, it would have looked cool, but then it would have took the focal point away from the space person on a bike, the astronaut on a bike, which is meant to be Little Uzi Vert, obviously, and the guy in the foreground is Future. And I really wanted to play on his name, Little Uzi Vert, made him little, put him in the background. And if you know, it's just these messages that no one gets that I love to point out. That's still not working. Like I was saying, I was playing with this spaceship for about, I don't know, 10 odd minutes before I just completely deleted it. This is what I mean when I was playing with the actual floor, using hue and saturation, thinking I could somehow color it magically. And the thing about Photoshop is there's 10 million ways of doing what you just did. So there's not one way of changing the color of an object. Realistically, there's about 10 ways of changing a color of an object. You could select it. You could create a clipping mask. You could create an overlay and change your blending mode. There's a lot of ways of changing a color. That's why Photoshop is so difficult to teach people, because if I teach you something, there's probably a more efficient way of doing it. And like these Photoshop gurus that have been doing it for 10 plus years, they probably look at me as a joke or something, but you know, it's art. The process doesn't matter, the end outcome. Actually, no, that's a lie. The process always matters. The outcome is what people think matters. Think about it. The quote of the day. Right now, I'm trying to get Future to look more like he's in the suit rather than just an image I put into the suit. So I'm using using hue and saturations, color and blending options just to make his face darker and look like it's emerged with the suit. Beautiful. Now we're just going to be creating some shadows using hue saturations and turning down the lightness of the image and creating a mask, and then going in with a black brush and basically coloring in back all the light to create highlight. So it's basically the opposite of what most people do. Rather than going to hue and saturation or color or opacity or something like that, and turning up the brightness, and then going back in with a negative mask and using black to get rid of some of the lights in the image. I'm doing opposite. I found it looks more natural, and it looks much cleaner. With my brush settings right now, I think I've set the flow to around 38, something really light, just so it looks like the light is bleeding onto his body. So the light's coming from behind, obviously. It's coming from the earth or the atmosphere behind them. And I'm trying to emulate that onto their bodies, trying to make this image look as realistic as possible. You know, I've always thought, do people really sit through these videos? Like, does somebody really sit through a 40-minute video? It's probably not gonna be 40 minutes after I edit all of this, but like, I don't know. Like, I've seen 3-hour videos on Photoshop, just on YouTube. I've never watched them because they're like introductions into Photoshop. But I feel like if you want to get into Photoshop, I feel like YouTube is the best route to go. Basically, I'm just going to duplicate exactly what I just did on Future onto the little moon guy. What's astronaut? That's a word. Just going to duplicate what I did on Future onto the astronaut. Yeah, just go add hue and saturations. Turn down some of the saturation and turn down the lightness until it looks dark enough. Go back in with a mask and a black brush and color back in all the highlights by removing some of that mask. Basically now I'm just trying to create some sort of dust flying in the air, like, because when you look at Mars and stuff like that, or like some sort of different planet, it looks very dusty and dry, like somebody's elbows. So I'm trying to recreate that into this. So I'm just using a brush off Brush Easy. I feel like I'm just going to create a free pack of all these brushes. If you want that, just DM me. I actually don't, because I'm not going to make it. I'm going to be too lazy. But yeah, in the future, I'll make a free pack, because I can't resell them, obviously, because they're free brushes, of all the brushes that I'm currently using, and just give you guys the source basically for free, because I feel like brushes is something that's very overlooked when people use Photoshop. They just tend to go to Google Images and search up splatter or raindrop and like try to turn that into an object or a shape and then add it in, when you can just literally go on Brush Easy, search for raindrop brushes, and you got a variety of already high quality cutout images that are brushes, so they're easy to manipulate and place onto your composition. Basically what I'm doing now is trying to color the image, and I thought about using hue and saturation and doing it all basically manually, and then I thought about, again, what I was talking about earlier, is using the color lookups or the color LUTs and Photoshop, the ones that everyone has access to, and they're pretty amazing assets, and I'm trying to figure out how to use them properly, because I am using them. I'm changing the blend modes and stuff like that, just to make it pop. This first this layer is basically just to get all the darks to have a more rich, vibrant look, and then when I go in with another color lookup, I'm basically going to use that to sort of quote unquote make the other one stand out. So yeah, I'm just playing with them. I feel like that's the best way of learning, just doing stuff. I'm just playing with the blend mode now, seeing what looks cool. Like that one looks really cool, but it's too blown out. You can't see any of the detail. This one also looked really cool, but yeah, yet again, it's too dark. I'm just gonna change the blend mode. And I was seeing it here and it really didn't work, because then it looked ashy again, and I want my colors to stand out. I mean, I could have went back in, added hue and saturation, turned up the saturations and made them stand out, but then the back just looks too black and it's not working with the image at the moment. There you go. Then I settled with this one. This one was the main one. Now we're adding my favorite brush, lens flares. Lens flares are amazing. Don't overuse them like me though, but they are really cool. Yet again, I was just second guessing myself, but then I started to like the image. You know, when a composition finally hits, it hits different. When it finally starts to work. Right now, I was just trying to highlight Future's face because I want people to know it's Future, obviously, rather than just a man in sunglasses. I started playing with gradient maps, but then I just realized gradient maps don't really work with pictures that have a lot of shadows and different highlights because it just looks messy. It only really usually works when you're trying to make some sort of font or some sort of custom poster for like a simple promotional work, because you can highlight that gradient and you can make it stand out. But when you're using it for like heavy compositions, it just looks like you spilled milk on something and it's trying to seep in, but it's not really working. I don't know why I use that analogy, but that's what I'm picturing in my brain at the moment. Now that I've got my colors in focus and ready, I'm just trying to play with the composition and trying to add stuff in. I feel like these are always the hardest times, and I feel like I want to add one more color at least, make it look a little bit more red, because I want it to have like that futuristic sci-fi glowing look, you know. And I feel like red is the most used color of mine because I can relate it to everything. My room is literally red right now with my LED lights. I love red. It's not my favorite color though. It's probably green or black. just adding highlights where I think highlights should be. So I was originally thinking of making that button glow like a warning light or some sort of thing like that. But then I was like, nah, I feel like I don't really want the focal point to be on the button because everything else is going to be really dark. And if I make the button glow, that's what the first thing you're going to look at rather than the huge earth behind you and the two figures trying to run away from some sort of mass destruction or something. Time to add some text. I forgot what font I'm using right now. Anyway, this is all pre-recorded and edited already. It's already cut. So I'm just trying to figure out what font I used. And I can't zoom in at the moment, so I can't tell. I'll link it in the description if I feel like it's that important that you guys want to know the font that I use. But basically, this font looks very futuristic. I used it for one of my other projects. It was the Billie Eilish 90s themed merchandise, I think, or it might have been the Charlie D'Amelio, that one. But yeah, I really like this font. It looks really nice. Basically, it made it white and added it underneath everything. I want it to be in the background. I really don't like the font being the focal point, because I'm not really a typographer, so I'm trying to highlight what I can do best when I'm making art, especially when I'm making fan art, because fan art tends to do really well on Instagram and social media websites. And when it does get boosted in that algorithm, and clients come to you, they can see your strengths and what you can do. That's mostly why I do fan art. And it's very enjoying and calming and peaceful when you do fan art. Now I'm just going to be using Photoshop's actual AI to cut out this photo of Little Uzi Vert. I'm going to be creating a clipping mask and putting that image into the font, because I feel like I haven't used Uzi's face in the rest of the cover, so I feel like this would be a good place to place it. There we go. You know, that new selection thing in Photoshop is pretty cool. Ever since I think it was out ages ago, but I only figured it out honestly a couple of months ago. That's because I used to cut out every single image one by one, and then some images I'm thinking, there must be 10 times easier way of doing this. And then I just went to the selection tool and press select object, and it selects the main object. But it does have some errors, like if you zoom in, part of Little Uzi's glasses are missing, but I forgot to correct that error later on. But it ended up looking like the glasses were just fading in, like with the reflection of the light. So it wasn't too bad of an error. But again, once you're doing client work, these are stuff you have to highlight and point out before you send over a draft or anything like that, because quality does really matter. Basically, the cover is finished, but I just want to add some final touches to it, making sure everything looks nice or where I want it to be. And I usually spend around 5 to 10 minutes finalizing everything, making sure I like everything, you know. Add some elements that I feel would look really dope, like this lens flare I added on top of the planet, to make it look like the sun is about to rise behind the planet, you know. And that's what's creating all these lights behind the actual objects and the people in the cover, or the fan art. Basically, it's not really a cover. I'm just gonna go ahead and add their names to it, just cause. I'm gonna be using script font. I use script and bold fonts really often. They're a good pair, especially when you like overlay the script font on top of the bold. It has this really nice, pleasing look to it. I don't know what it is, but it's just really nice to look at when bold font and script font are paired together. They just really complement each other. At first, I was gonna add the names on top of each other, but then I thought, no, not really. Just added them to the corner because the names aren't really important, especially when you're working with artists this big. Just seeing their face, everyone already knows who they are. So like, yeah, Little Uzi Vert. See what I mean? It just didn't work. I tried doing that, but that also didn't work. So I thought, you know what could be a lot easier? Just putting them in the corner. I've always thought, do you guys want one of these PSD files? Like me just dropping a link to one of my, no, I can't do that because I have a lot of bought assets from places like Flyer Market and stuff like that, where it's basically illegal for me to re-upload them at all. Yeah, and that's the cover basically. I wanted to add some light effects to the text and made that the light source because I feel like that little flare wasn't too big of a light source. I was like, how can that light this whole planet basically, not Earth? Now I'm just gonna create a copy, convert to a smart object, so I can go play with all the filters without damaging my original. Go into filter gallery, not filter gallery, sorry. There we go. Just playing with some colors. You know, one time I've gone into this filter and changed the colors completely, and then when the client asked me to add motion, I had to go into After Effects because After Effects wouldn't load these custom colors, and I had to go in and add them back in. That took me at least 2 hours. It was so gruesome. I hated it so much. That's why I'm very weary when I'm using custom LUTs and stuff like that. I really don't know how to duplicate them or remake them efficiently enough to be adding dope filters on stuff like that. So yeah. Now I'm just gonna go to select, color range, color range, and select the orange. We're gonna create some sort of lens effect, lens blur. Some people use this to make it look hazy. At first I was gonna do that, but then it just blended too much in. I feel like when you're trying to make a hazy effect, you need to have a lot more darks than brights, because if you have a lot more brights, it just oversaturates it and looks weird. So I added this motion blur. Make the cover look like it's running away from something. I don't know. Like somebody took the photo and they shook the image. I was very indecisive with this process. and I am my biggest critic. So when I'm making these type of fan arts, I'm very, very cautious everything I do. Yeah, I feel like that worked best. Yeah. And that's it. Thank you very much, guys, for checking out this video. I very much appreciated it. My website will be linked down below if you guys want to check out some free preset packs that I have, some asset packs that I've created. It's only one of them. I'm creating version 2 soon, just depending on how much support I get on version 1. I've got a lot of good feedback and a lot of downloads. And yeah, if you want to check out my portfolio, it's also on my website. If you want to check out some of my other works, it's on my Instagram. Everything else will be linked down below. If I have any important information or anything, it's also going to be linked down below. And that's it. The Baby Plauto fan art created by Wilson, designed by Will. Little Uzi featuring Future. Thank you. Peace.